everybody. I'm Liz from the Chillicothe and Ross County Public Library, and here with me today is Jonna from the OSU Extension Office, and we're going to be doing a cooking demonstration today. Jonna's going to be showing us how to make this delicious granola. I made some yesterday, so I would have it to try at the end, and I will hand things over to Jonna.
Hi, everybody. As Liz said, my name is Jonna. Some of you may have attended my classes before. I've done quite a few live sessions at the libraries around Ross County. And if you have, you know that we always make some really yummy recipes and everybody gets a chance to taste them. Today, though, I'm going to make a granola that I've actually brought to some of my live programs, but you not having an oven at the library, I haven't been able to make it to show you how to make it. So today we're going to do it live. Just want to start off by giving you a little bit of background about who I am and what I'm doing. I am a SNAP Ed program assistant through Ohio State University Ross County Extension Office here in Ross County. And I go out into the schools, the libraries, any place where they'll have me, and I do live nutrition cooking demonstrations for classes anywhere from 3 years old to 100 years old. So I cover just about everybody in Ross County. Now, the premise of our program, and I'm sure if any of you have got kids, you have seen the My Plate, which is in the old days when I was in school was called the food pyramid, but now everything is on the My Plate model. And basically what it is the 5 food groups. We are talking about how we would have half of our plates be fruits and vegetables, a quarter of it would be grains, which half of those would be whole grains, a quarter would be protein, and then our dairy on the side. So that's most of the recipes, well, actually all the recipes that I do are going to be based on this model. And this is an ideal way to get the proper nutrition in your diet is by following this food model, okay? All right, so let's get started today. Liz had already, I think she posted a copy of the recipe that we're doing. It is actually, the name of the recipe is called Cranberry Pecan Granola. But being as I'm just like everybody else, I am quarantined to my house and I'm kind of stuck with the supplies that I have on hand. We are going to tweak this up a little bit, and it's going to actually be a cranberry walnut granola because walnuts is what I have in my pantry. So our ingredients today are going to be whole rolled oats. These are not instant oats. You wouldn't want to use instant oats for granola because it probably would not bake up quite the way you want it to. Some canola oil, vanilla, some dried cranberries, some cooking spray, some honey, some cinnamon, and then also the walnuts I was talking about. So to start off with, we need to make our secret sauce. Our sauce is going to be what's going to be the coating for the granola. So we start off with a little saucepan, and I'm going to, we need, for our liquid portion of this, we're going to use a half a cup of maple syrup or honey. So I've got the honey here, not a half a cup, 3/4 of a cup. And then also a quarter cup, and it says vegetable oil on hand, so it's canola oil. So I'm going to measure out my 3/4 cup of honey. And little trick to show you everybody, when you're measuring something that's really sticky like honey, maple syrup, molasses, peanut butter, something that's going to stick to your cup, if you give it just a real short blast of cooking spray, it will make everything come out a lot easier. So I am going to, excuse me, measure out my honey. And maybe I should have taken the lid off. It's going to take a while coming out that way. Now, what I didn't cover there is if I was not cooking in my own kitchen, if I was cooking out for you in the classroom at the library, I would be using gloves. I would not be just cooking barehanded. But since I'm making this in my own kitchen, it's going to be for my own use here in my house. I'm using just my clean hands. I did wash it before we started. I swear I did. So if you see, by putting that cooking spray in there, see how easy that honey is rolling right out of there? It's not sticking quite so bad. And that makes it so cleanup is a whole lot easier, and you're got a little more accurate as far as your measurements. So I'm going to use my spatula and just pull the last of that out of there. And then I'm going to measure out in a liquid measuring cup my oil. So I need 1/4 cup oil. And I got a see-through cup so I can see what I got right there. So I'm going to put that into my pan. Point this down just a little bit. There we go. And then into that, I am going to put 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. And you should never measure your dry ingredients over top of your pan, because if you do and you happen to have a big blob come out at the end, you're liable to over season your dish. So just like that right there. So you always do it off to the side so you don't over season. Okay, so there goes my cinnamon into that. Next, we're going to turn on the burner here on the stove, and I'm going to heat this up to not boiling. I want it to be just before it boils. So where's my spoon? There's my spoon. I want to stir it together. And what we want it to do is we want the honey and the oil to blend together, so it's going to make a nice syrupy coating for our granola. So I'll set that on here. And you got to really keep an eye on it, because like I said, you don't want to boil it, because we don't want to get the like a hard cracked candy. So you want to make sure you're just getting it to the point where it's nice and warm together. Okay, so while that's heating up, clean up my area here a little bit. I'm going to get my mixing bowl here, and we're going to start out with 3 cups of rolled oats. And this is a brand new package, so I'm going to open it up here. Oh, that's a nifty lid. I've never seen something like that before. Okay, so I've got my dry measuring cup here. I'm going to measure out 3 level cups of the oats into my bowl. So even with the top. 1, 2, 3. And keeping an eye on my secret sauce here. Make sure it's stirred around good. Set the oats back out of the way. And then we're going to add in 1 cup. And then, of course, like I said, it calls for chopped pecans, but I've got walnuts, so that's what we're using. Now, these are whole walnut halves, so I'm going to measure these out, and as I put it into the oats, I want the pieces to be just a little smaller, so I'm going to break them up with my fingers. If you have a chopper, you can use a chopper, but I'm just going to kind of take them and just break them between my fingers and put them in, so you don't have those great big huge bites. Now, if you like your granola really chunky, go ahead and leave them whole, because it's all personal preference when you're cooking something like this. So they're not all really big, so I'm just going to break up the really huge ones and put them in here. After I have those broke up, through my secret sauce, it's starting to thin down. And you can see where the oil's not separating away from the honey quite so much. I'm going to take my spatula and I'm going to mix those together. Now, it also calls for a cup of dried cranberries, or you can use raisins or whatever type of dried fruits you might have on hand, or you can use multiple. It depends on how chunky you want your granola to be and how many ingredients you want in it. You can put, like I said, this is yours. Now, I don't recommend putting the cranberries or raisins or dried fruit in prior to putting it in the oven, because it can make it pretty hard. So what I would do is, what I do for my own, because I don't like them hard at all, is once I take everything out of the oven, I stir them in afterwards. That way they stay kind of soft in my granola. Okay, so we're getting heated through here pretty good. Now, if you like a spicier type, this has just got cinnamon in it. Now, if you would want it to make it to have a little more bite, you could always add like in a 1/4 teaspoon of cloves, a 1/4 teaspoon of ginger, or some nutmeg. Give it a little more of a bite. If you like a little spicier granola, that would be perfectly fine. You probably, if you've been in my classes before, you've heard me say 100 times, recipes are not an exact science. You do not have to go by them completely. Whatever you like and what you cook to your own taste, that's the best thing to do. Okay, so I think we're hot enough there. Okay, so let me turn the burner off. Now we're going to take our coating and just dump it right in there. And we're going to take our spatula and we're going to stir that around until it's really well coated. You want to make sure you don't have any dry oats left in there because we don't want any dry oats are just going to be toasted oats, right? It's not going to be sweet like granola, so we want it to be toasted up really well. Now, the really good thing about granola like this is we know exactly what's in it. I was looking online, and to purchase a bag, 11-ounce bag of granola, which is about, roughly a cup and a half of granola, is about $3 to $4 a bag. And when I was looking at the ingredients, there's a lot of things in there that I can't pronounce. So if I can't pronounce it, I kind of shy away from it. But this here, I know how to pronounce honey. And I know what to put in this, so I'm going to miss out on this. I forgot to put the vanilla in. And when I took that off the heat, I should have put the vanilla into the sauce, but that's okay. It will just be a little less, one layer flavor missing there. So I've got my baking sheet. I'm going to take my cooking spray and just lightly coat this baking sheet. And I'm going to take my granola and I'm going to spread it out over the bowl, out of the bowl, onto the sheet. And you're going to love the way your house smells when you're cooking this. But anyway, back to my point about the buying the granola for 1.5 cups for a little over $3. Well, actually, most of them were closer to $4. When I did price effect cost on this, and this is going to give you roughly, I think the recipe calls 16 servings at 1/3 cup serving. So we're going to get about, someone do the math for me on that. We're going to get quite a bit more than what you would get at the grocery. There it is. And we can control how much sugar's in it. We can control that there's no preservatives in it. And we know exactly what we're doing. And it's flavored the way we like. Okay, my oven is already preheated to 325. So I'm going to go ahead and take this and slide it down in here in the oven. And I will set a timer for 10 minutes. And at 10 minutes, you'll take it out and stir it. Now, this is not a recipe that you put in the oven and walk away because it will burn pretty quickly because we're talking about, something, oats are going to burn up or going to toast pretty quickly. The walnuts are going to toast pretty quickly, which is why I don't put the craisins in there either because they will toast up pretty quickly. So with the magic of the computer, I've already got this tray here already made up, and you can see, if you look, you can see the big chunks of walnuts, how toasty the oats look, and then I put the raisins in, or the cranberries in the last. And when you do that, the heat from the oats and the oatmeal and the walnuts will kind of get the glaze on top of the craisins as well. So they'll have that nice little crispy outer shell, but they'll still be soft in the middle. So if you stir it at 10 minutes, put it back in the oven for 10 minutes, take it out, stir in your raisins, your dried fruit, whatever you're putting in, and then pop it back in the oven for 10 minutes and check it. Check it frequently that last 10 minutes because you don't want it to get too brown because they will brown up pretty quickly. And when you first take it out, you're going to think, oh, this isn't even crunchy because it's still going to be soft. But as it cools down, it will crunch up. And then you let it cool completely, store it in an airtight container. You can keep it on the shelf for a good 4 or 5 days. Normally it doesn't last that long around my house. If you have an abundance of it, you can pop it in a freezer container and throw it in the freezer and pull it out as you like to use. Now, what do we use this for? This is a really good hot breakfast food in the morning. You can take it out, put like a 1/2 cup into your bowl, put a little bit of milk in it, stir it around, pop it in the microwave for a few seconds, take it out, stir it again, pop it back in for another few seconds, and it's a really good warm oatmeal. You can eat it cold with milk over it. I like mine with almond milk over top of it. It makes an awesome topping for yogurt, for fresh fruit. I've even used it on ice cream as a special treat. It's a good way to get, flavor on your ice cream and save a little bit on that extra sugar for the toppings. And as I said, this is a really good thing to use as far as getting some half of your grains, whole grains, because your oats are going to be your whole grains. You've got your walnuts in there for your protein. You've got the cranberries, which is going to have the vitamins and the nutrients out of the fruit. And it's low sugar because the only sugar we've got in there is the sugar, natural sugars in the cranberries and the honey. Okay, has anybody been typing any questions in the chat box there, Liz?
We don't have any questions in the chat box.
Okay.
But I am just dishing myself some of my granola now on some yogurt that I have ready. Because I have been munching a little bit while you were teaching. I had my mic muted, so I just was munching along with it.
I actually will keep a cup of this as I'm working, and it's kind of hard. It's not like the traditional hard, crunchy granola like you buy in the grocery stores. I call it cavity busters because they will, they're kind of hard on the teeth. This is a nice. It's got a little crunch to it, but it's not so hard that it hurts your teeth to eat it. But it is kind of small. It's kind of hard to snack on it, but I'll put it in a cup and just tip it up like a little cup of granola and have a little snack that way every day too. So it's really handy to have around, and it's also something the kids really like to have because it's sweet. You can use it in like if you have just a plain breakfast cereal and you want to put a little sweetness to it without adding a lot of sugar. You can put a couple tablespoons of your regular breakfast cereal and sweeten it up that way. It's very diverse. You can do all kinds of things with it.
Yeah, I think it would also be, you mentioned using it as an oatmeal kind of on its own. I think it would be nice to sprinkle over oatmeal too.
Yes. Yeah.
So you have the unsweetened oatmeal.
Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, it is really good on ice cream. And I've got a recipe for some more ice cream that we might do at a later date that it's really good on. So
that would be great. Yeah, and actually we're working with Jonna to maybe be able to come back for some more classes this summer. We don't have the details yet, but we'll let you know. I did want to mention some other things that we have coming up this week. And Jonna, I'm just going to mute your mic for a minute because I'm getting some feedback. So on Facebook Live, Mondays and Thursdays at 10 a.m., we have some story times going on. Youth Services is doing those. This Friday, May 15th at 9:30 a.m., Ruby from Youth Services and I will be live with Mayor Feeney on his chat that he does. Next Tuesday, May 19th at 4, we have a virtual container gardening class also being presented by an instructor from the OSU Extension Office. And we do appreciate if you tune in live to that and put your questions in the comments and I'll get those out. And then next Wednesday, May 20th at noon, we have our virtual Brown Bag Book Club. And we will be reading Jennifer Robson's The Gown, which is available as either an ebook or an e-audiobook on Hoopla, which is one of our digital services. So thank you, Jonna. Thank you for teaching today. And always a pleasure to have you. And I hope that I'll see you in person again soon.
That's right. I'm missing everybody. I can't wait to get back out in the county. But until then, at least we can meet up this way. Thanks for coming, everybody. Thank you, Liz. I appreciate it.
Yep, great. Thanks.